Right, so I'm just going to prepare the windows. So I've cut them out and I've got a bit of cardstock and I'm just going to literally glue them down to give me a bit of strength to help me prepare them. Do the same with the other one. Just using PVA glue here. Any old glue will do. And smooth it out as best you can. Okay. Now while that's drying off, I'm going to use, I've got a stencil here and some Fairy Chic textured paste, and I'm going to scrape through some textured paste to sort of give the impression of brickwork really round the edges. So I'm going to just get a little bit on my spatula. You could use a knife or a credit card, whatever you've got. I just really want it around the edges. I want it to have some really cool texture. All the way around it. Doesn't matter if it even goes over the outside of the edge of the paper, because that's flat, and this is just going to create a wider kind of brick wall around the window when we stick it on. So I'm absolutely fine with that. So we're going to turn it up the other way. You can see the nice edges now, and we'll put it around the top as well. Now the only thing with raised texture is it takes a while to dry, so you've got to contain your excitement and either get a heater on it. But even then, it doesn't seem to dry out properly. It dries out better overnight, honestly. So guys, right, so there's one, lots of texture all the way around it. And I'm going to do the same with the other one. Again, cut this paper slightly narrower than the other one, but I'm just going to do this kind of brickwork roughly the same width as the other one. If any of you want this stencil, I got it on Amazon. I think it was about £2, so it's a real bargain. Half done. Turn it upside down. So now I've got quite texture down. I might just put a little bit there at the bottom. There we go. That's cool. Right, so I'm going to set that to one side to start to dry. I'll speed that up in a bit with a hairdryer, I expect. But I'm just going to prep the pages a little bit. So I have prepared, stuck together. It's already sticking a bit, but we're going to call that texture. So I have prepared 4 pages. So this one doesn't count. So this is 1 page, and it's got 3 pages stuck together, and it's got some ephemera, just torn up pages stuck on it. This is 2 pages stuck together. This is another 2 pages stuck together, and this is 3 pages stuck together with bits of paper. So there's 4 pages. Now the archways that we've just created, been playing with, are going to go here and going to go here. So they so we're going to cut out bits. So these 2 pages will be stuck together once they're finished, and you'll be able to see through them. So that's the idea. So I want to just do a little bit of prep with the same stonework. So if you imagine this is where those windows are going to go, I'm going to put just a little bit of the texture randomly on the walls of our imaginary sort of church, just in little areas, to continue what we've started with our church windows. Okay, so I'm just doing it on these 2 pages, just a bit. I think that would be more than enough, and I'm going to have to prop that page up while I do the other page, otherwise it's going to stick. In fact, I'm going to have to dry things off, so I'll come back in just a minute. Let's just get this other page done. A bit there. I really only want a little bit, just that's plenty. Let's get that dry. So what I'm also going to do to create some texture on the other pages, these pages, is I'm going to use my brush and I'm going to spread white gesso over the page quite loosely, like so. Now once this is properly dry, it's going to have a coat of gesso over the top as well. Might be able to do it now. Let's do it now. That'll make it easier. There we go. Obviously all of this just serves to give us the texture that we are craving and strengthen our pages. Gesso is also super good for priming, so it makes it suitable now for me to put whatever medium I want on next. So that is a brilliant bonus. So now I've covered those 2 pages, I'm going to push them together. I might have to do that a little bit more locally because the book's got quite fat, so I'm just going to very quickly push them together, give them a squidge about, and then peel it open while it's still wet. And there, that gives me some really lovely juicy texture to play with once it's dry. So I've just got to dry that off, and then I shall do the same to the other side. Okay, so we're going to do the same to this side, which is already starting to stick together. Okay. In terms of my pictures themselves, I am literally going to tear them so that I don't really want the yellow edge. Kind of looks like a playing card, which is lovely, but I want to blend the background of the page into this gorgeous picture, so it won't look right with the yellow. By tearing it, we've got a much easier to blend. It won't show as much as having a really sharp edge. Isn't that beautiful? And then I've got this picture for the other side. Remember, we've created two sides of our stained glass window. So that's the two pictures that we're going to be using tomorrow, ready, prepared. So that's our pages pretty much prepared. We just have this last bit to dry out, and then I will cut round the shapes, making sure that the height is going to fit inside the book page. Okay. So this is just a piece of card from an envelope that arrived in the post, and I'm going to just attempt to draw out a cross. It's going to have to be fairly chunky so that I can get the texture onto it that I want, but we shall see. So there's my cross. Yep, I think that's okay. And now I'm going to use some textured paste to just fill it in, and I'm really not worried too much about texture. I want it to be texture. Cool. I'm obviously gonna leave this to dry and then attempt to cut it out. Make sure it gets into every last point of the drawing. I should probably use a craft knife to cut it out, so it should go through any bits that have completely overlapped, gone over the edges. Obviously doing my best to stay in the edges. Bit here. Now I'm wondering, and I don't know yet, I shall wait and see when I've dried it, whether it might need a second layer once the first layer has dried. So we will see. Quite pleased with that. Just try and make the shape sort of evenly thick. So take your time. There. And just finally trying to even out the texture to be not flat but bumpy, equally bumpy. I want it to look a bit like stone, I suppose. Clay, I don't know. Anyway, let's see what that looks like once it's dry. Okay, I'm gonna have to wait a bit longer for that to go off. Right, so this stuff I've got here is called Tyvek, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a go at making some beads. Now, I've never used this before, and I just want to make some plain old brown beads. So what we're going to do is paint this section, and this is very chic Melusum, a chocolatey brown colour. Paint it right up to the edges. Okay. Now while it's wet, I am going to try, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try and sprinkle a little bit of gold embossing powder into the paint, and we'll see if when it's heated up, if it turns it a little bit sparkly, which would be pretty. I think that's probably enough. I'm going to make sure I put the lid on before I start drying, because we don't want it to blow everywhere. I'm not fully drying it because the heat has an effect on the Tyvek. So what I'm going to do is cut this section off. Okay. And I'm going to cut the Tyvek into strips, and it's going to be thinner one end and fatter the other. Can you see? And then we'll turn it around and do the same the other way, and we should be able to get a few out of it like that. Now you can obviously colour paint your Tyvek whatever colours you want. We can have a go at some rainbow ones, but for what I need, I wanted to try some just plain brown. And depending on how long your widest bit of the paper, depends on how big your bead is going to be. So you can obviously make much bigger beads than me if you wish. So now what we're going to do is use a cocktail stick, or this is a skewer, and we're going to start with the fat end of the paper and roll it up. Okay, and then with a pin I'm just going to pop it in on the end and push it down just a little bit to keep it in place. I don't want it to pop out. There we are. Now with the heat gun, with that in place, and this is where I can get the heat gun closer because you'll see it has an impact on the paper once it's close. It started to melt in places. Let's see if we could push that in a little bit. It's given it a lovely texture. I'm going to just heat it a little bit more now without the pin. Okay. So now we can simply slide off our bead, and we have a bead. And we can obviously, I've got some silver wax I think somewhere. Hang on. Oh, gold actually. Silver here. So we'll try some silver wax, just put a little bit on my finger. Blends it up quite nicely. So there you have a Tyvek bead. So I'm going to have a go at some different coloured ones and show you what I come up with. Okay. So my cross is virtually dry. It's a little bit raised. Perfect. I've cut it out and I'm just applying PVA glue to the top of it. Now this cross is going to go in my journal, so it's going to be stuck in place, but I wanted it to look vaguely authentic, a little bit raised. So I've got these just pearly beads I'm just going to carefully fill my cross with. It's going to be a bit fiddly, but that's okay. And because the textured stuff is still a little bit soft, it's allowing me to just squidge it in, stretching out the space just a little bit, which is cool. Just because I'm going to need to put a hole in the middle of those. Just need to make sure there's space for it. Yeah, I think that works quite well. Just let that to dry. Okay. But I've prepped 4 pages. So this is 1 page with 3 pages. This is 2 pages. This is another 2 pages. And then this is another page here with 3 pages. And obviously these 2 are going to be stuck together. I've also done some it took quite a long time to cut all of this out, it was quite thick, and I've done some textured raised stencil to kind of look like the stone brickwork, and I've put some gesso on and peeled it off to again create some sort of texture. Good, I'm glad it's coming through for you. I really thought I was going to have to cancel. So I've got these beautiful pictures, these images, and these are royalty free. They're from the Graphics Fairy. And they are going to go like so in there. So, and then we're going to obviously be doing our blending and stuff. But first of all, because it's going to take a little while to dry, I'm going to, well, I'll stick these in place because they will take a while to dry. Let's get them on and glued. I'm just going to use normal PVA for this. I've done no sharing. Louise, Fiona, my reliables, can you share me out to the places? Because my laptop is in slow motion mode with the weather is terrible down here. I have braved the outdoors this morning with the dog, and I guess it's affecting the internet. Thank you for sharing, Shaz. Fab. Right, so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna stick her in the middle. There we go. Kind of want to be able to see her through there, although by the time we get on with that, I'm not sure if that's gonna actually be. Now, as I've explained in the prep, I torn around these images because it's much easier to blend them in with the background if they're torn. So I have been, well, I saved at Christmas. So no, that makes me sound like a pig. I got my friends to save, my friends and family to save their sweet wrappers. I promise you I did not eat all these. And they are very cool. And now look what happens when I put these in between. How gorgeous is that in stained glass? I really thought it would look lovely. So I'm going to cut them into smaller strips. And I'm going to keep the colours predominantly blue because the pictures have got blue in. So I want quite a bit of blue. I don't think I've got, there's only one shade of blue. Oh, we've got some turquoise. We'll do that too. Hi Tanya. They go a long way. I've got a big bag. It's just, it was one, I don't know if it's a Quality Street or, oh, love it. And I'll get some purple. Get some purple. And it doesn't matter if they're overlapping a bit, I don't think, because it will just sort of make a mixed colour. So what I'm going to do, that's why I've created these 2 pages, that are like, because eventually they'll be stuck together, but I wanted to get the stained glass bit in first. So all I'm going to do is add some PVA around the edge. I'm hoping this is going to be sufficient. Now when I was lying in bed, this is what happens. I lie awake with these ideas in my head. Then I can't sleep, and I didn't know if I was going to have to do a separate level here, like one layer here and another layer there, but obviously that will affect each other's colours, so I kind of thought maybe not, but let's see. So I'm just, it doesn't even matter if it has some extra glue, glue it down. Hi Angie, thank you for sharing. I am going to overlap them a bit. I like the idea. You could probably do more ornate, different square, different one, but I didn't want to be here all day with it. I think this is probably going to be sufficient to be effective. So this, if you need an excuse to go out and buy a box of Quality Street, or you need something for Mother's Day, you know, you've got an excuse now. It's for art. I probably should have tried this out first. See if it works as well as it does in my head. Easter set? No, I've never heard of it. But yeah, do it with whatever. I mean, I half thought about just doing, you could have done it with a clear plastic bag, and I have used clear wrappers before with these things, but obviously it wouldn't make the stained glass, and I really just thought the stained glass would be super cool. Oh, it's lovely. Right, so we're going to stick these pages together, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Now, getting these lined up and it was tricky, and they're not perfect by any means, but you know, it's a book journal. It's just a cool idea. I also got this church window shape from the Graphics Fairy website. So I got all of the images that I'm using today, and they are all royalty copyright free, so you're free to use them. Literally put in church window in search, and if you put in look at religious images, you will find the 2 images that I've used. So I'm going to squeeze them together. I've got some clips here that were long overdue sealing something else, so let's just for a minute put them in place. I found these clips, I don't know where, I had them in my supplies and they've been a godsend. I know you can get big fat ones, but hey, sweet wrappers, my little stained glass window. I really like that. Can you see it? It's very cool. So I actually stuck this paper to a bit of cardstock to get all this texture on, and you'll see that in the prep bit of the video. So if you want to see the edited version, I'll say go over to YouTube, and tomorrow it'll probably be up there by then. So now we can get on with our colouring and our painting to get all that blended in. So you know what I'm going to say, guys, because these are my current go-to. Jane Davenport, Jane Davenport, Jane Davenport. So we're getting out some colours. I think there was a bit of purple in there, a little bit in there. So that will go. And there are 2 sets to Jane Davenport. I think that's a, could be, couldn't it? They all kind of go. So if you want the whole set, you need 2 to make up all the colours. Now, with my nun, I have also made myself a cross, and it's a bit of cardboard, and it's part of the video. So that's been out to dry overnight, which is quite cool. And I have also made, now I don't know if you're going to appreciate these on camera. I'll put them up close for you. These are actually beads. And I made these out of a material called Tyvek. Now I've very deliberately made these quite dull because they are going to be part of a rosary with the cross. What happened to the cross? The cross was there maybe. I don't know what I did with the cross. Here it is. So I'm going to place that somewhere on the page, and there'll be a bead rosary going with it. So these can be threaded, and they've been made with this. This is Tyvek. And I've painted it in a kind of, you can paint it whatever colour you want. It works really well with metallic paints. And I did have one, I think you can probably see that's a bit shimmery. So if we get time at the end, I'll show you how I did that, although it is, as I say, part of the video. So that's going to be included in this little page, but I want to get some of these colours on. I'm just loving that. How cool. Love it when a plan comes together. Right, now this page is very pretty in that it's sort of two-tone. There's more purple over this side and more bluey green over this side. So now we know that these colours actually turn into quite heavy-duty, bright colours. So I'm not going to deliberately not going to put so much on today because I want it to water down a bit, so spread out a bit more. So I'll put some purple even on some of the picture. I just want to show you how easy it is to blend in a picture, so you don't have to be some amazing artist to use another piece of artwork. on your furniture, on whatever, and be able to blend it in. You don't have to use these kind of crayons. You could use paint, as you know, you're going to water it down. I'm doing this for the sake of this video because these are easy to work with on this particular platform. But on a piece of furniture, you could still get a picture on it and blend it in. And by the time we're finished, it's going to look like it was all part of the same thing. Right, I'm going to take these clips off now. I think we're about dry. So you can't particularly see the picture beneath it, which is a shame, but it's still pretty cool. Right, this one has got a bit more yellow in it, so I might have to get some yellow. So I'm literally just trying to sort of use the colours that I can see. Hi Carolyn, don't worry about being late. You can rewind and catch it on YouTube. So a bit of purple on this side because we've got obviously got the purple in the, but not so much this, maybe a little bit here. But I'm going to go with some yellows on this side actually, because there's quite a lot of yellow in there. And it's about getting the right tone, because I've obviously got two yellows here, but this is very much this yellow, not the golden one. So, you know, look at that when you're trying to match stuff up. Okay, I think I've probably got enough on there to start some watercolouring, and then you see the magic of these crayons once they're activated. Now you can smear them with your finger, but you do have to be quite, look, can you see? You have to have put quite a lot on to get a good coverage for that, and we haven't, because I didn't want it to be quite as bright as it could be. Obviously the more you put on, the brighter it gets. So where are we all tuning in from today? I think I've seeing some new names that I haven't recognised. Be great to know how you found me. I am on the same time every week, every Thursday. Oh, just look at that. These colours are just divine. Oh, I'm glad your mum's home, Carolyn. Excellent news. And breathe. You can play with your paints. So, now despite trying to get a very watered down version, as you can see, I haven't particularly achieved that, but I will use some gesso to tone it down a bit. It will be fine. So I'm just making sure that all of my window underneath, it's still got a little bit of the print from the black and white picture that I printed off, but that kind of is okay. Alright, come on then, let's blend this nun. So, now I'm going to use some of the blue just very lightly with my brush to break up some of her dress, some of the background, just seep it in. And this is one of those subtle, and if you've got little bits of the colour in your image, your eye makes sense of it. Your eye will pull that image together as part of that page. And obviously we're quite early days here yet. We haven't, this is this first layer. Okay, now that's quite bright and quite wet. So I'm going to use, you'll see, this is going to tone it down a lot, which is good. And it's going to pick out some of the cream underneath, which is good. That's cool. Okay, let's get a bit more rag. Hi, Karen. Yes, Jane Davenport crayons. Markers, I think they're called, but they're distress crayons. They're activated by fluid. So I can activate them with water, but I can also activate them with gesso, which is what I'm going to be doing in a minute. So here's, I've got my own brand of gesso. If you've only just come on, I'd really appreciate it if you could share out anywhere that you think might like this kind of work. Now I'm just using my finger, you could use whatever you like, because I want to bring up some of this stone. Again, it's about this blending. I don't want the edge particularly to show that I've cut out and stuck on. Obviously, that's why I did some of the raised texture on the outside on the page, so that it kind of tied in. Again, it's just making your eye make sense of what it's seeing. We're not doing an exact replica of a church wall here. We are, a church wall wouldn't be bright purple either, would it? So I want some of the purple in there as if it's reflecting in the sunlight, but we're going to definitely get your finger messy. It's my kind of painting. Yes, Kelly, run after. There's more to show you. There is lots more to show you yet. Right, I'm just going to sort of let that dampen down while we work on this side. Now this side, she's obviously got quite a lot of sort of vintaginess about it, so I'm going to get my my brownie stamp out in a minute, and we're gonna vintage up this page a bit. So I'm trying to get rid of that rectangle edge that you can see, because this picture was part of the book. It's been there for years. That's what I want. The colours have got faded. I think this photograph was taken with a fantastic filter on it. Really like it. So we're gonna do that justice. It makes quite a difference already. This gesso is great because it's a neutralizer in that it doesn't complete, it's not like solid white paint, it fades so you can still see what's underneath. Obviously you could put several layers on and it will turn into a white paint, but it acts as a primer as well for these pages. These book pages aren't necessarily the natural medium to absorb wet and paint without getting really sort of bubbled or ruined, and the gesso gives it strength. So she's coming on. I'm just gonna... Again, this kind of mottling, this dabbing just creates more texture. Okay. Hi, darling. Canada, wow. What time is it in Canada? I'm glad you've come across me. Right, I'm going to give this a very quick blast so that we can put some ink on. Right, now I need my... I've got sweet wrappers everywhere, guys. I've got Gathered Twigs Distress Oxide. Just need to find the pad. Hang on. Got it. So this is quite sort of brown. This is where we start aging up this picture. It's really quite effective very quickly. $2.30. Oh, not too far ahead then, because it's 1:30 here. See what difference that makes with just some brown. I'm going to do the same on the other side. It's looking quite nice and grungy, so I'm going to go in with my Stabilo, which if you followed me you will have seen me use over and over, and it is a black Stabilo pencil that again is activated by liquid. So I'm going to use it to outline. I might even use it to make a feature of this kind of arch that I've cut out around it. And you'll see the difference when we add some water to it. I know, it's like all my favourite colours in one place. I tell you, when you go trawling for images to use that you know, copyright free, and it's the colours that tend to I found this lovely picture of this nun and I love it. She just looks really peaceful, serene, meditating. out in the garden, I presume, and the colours just really spoke to me. And that's what I was going to do something completely different this week, and I saw that picture and this idea came to me at 2 AM, like you do, and then I just had to do it because I knew I wouldn't be able to get it out of my system till I'd done it all. So look at what happens now. I've got a little brush, but it is just water. Now you could just wet your finger, but because I've got quite a lot to do, I think I'll be putting black back into my mouth. So, but I will use my finger to smudge it in. Really turns it into quite a black inky look, which I say it every week, I am an outliner, I can't help myself. I want to outline and make things pop. So we've got her nice stone there. And I might just use, again, I could use Stabilo all the way around the edge, but I think this might be quicker. Just a black stone grey pad. Again, this is a stays on, so once it's on it won't smudge. And I'm not really worried if it's cracking up or aging some of the image. Okay, so I will come back to that, but we're going to do a bit on this one. Each week this is your favourite. You've got to start your own journal, Shaz. This is the fun thing is that you can just take these everywhere with you. You can, and I leaf through it and remember what mood I was in on the day that I did it. It's like having a portfolio of your artwork all in one book. I've obviously got some very bright colours going on here, which again need toning down. So I think while it's wet, let's go in with my now these don't like, they're not, if you added more water in half an hour they would reactivate, so they don't sort of dry, you don't activate them once and then it's permanent. So you've got to watch out for that. If you put more water on top, you are going to run into. Right, I'll start with a yellow. Not to get too muddy. Okay. Got a hair in there. Okay, now we've got to push that down too. So we're kind of going through the same process with the 2 pages. And then we're going to go in with the gesso. Going to blend this edge in a bit. You can seal them. I don't personally, but if I was to be taking them to, I don't know, workshops where I knew everyone was going to be touching them, etc., I just use like an acrylic spray, I think. if you use something like matte finish, which I've got, over the top of this, it would reactivate the Stabilo and the, so you don't want anything that you're going to be like brushing on back and forth, is the answer. So yeah, if I was taking them out places where everyone was going to be handling and touching it and I didn't want it, that's what I would do. Just a spray. So I'm really getting rid of the square, which is my plan. So I'm just using the white the gesso to go into the background. And I know that I showed you this last week, but I've decided that I really want to put some foil size and foils on this. So I haven't decided what colours to go with. I kind of wanted to go originally with silver, but I have got some turquoise foil. That might be quite nice too. Any suggestions? I'll show you what I've got in a minute. So that's looking quite a lot better now. That's a page. I'm going to give it a quick dry. Hi Pamela. Go back in with the brown distress ink because we're going to be aging this up. Turquoise is gorgeous, I know, it's like a peacock colour. I'll show you it in a minute. It will go with this. This picture is definitely quite vintagey. Really helps to tie it in. Yeah. Right, back in with my Stabilo around the window. Now this Stabilo actually says on it paper, glass, plastic and metal. So I haven't tried it on glass, but maybe. I haven't tried it on metal either. That could be something cool. Now you can see that this cutout wasn't exact. You can see some of the white bits from before underneath, so I'm just going to fill them in with the Stabilo so that they don't look as obvious. There. And then we did one around the whole arch. Yeah. Originally I was going to sort of blend it in, but I think it looks quite good with the outline, so let's get some water on that. What do I do with my brush? There. So if this is the first time you've seen me in action, I'm on this time on a Thursday every week on my Facebook page, and I'm on YouTube 2 till 3 on a Monday. I always upload these lives in edited version to upload afterwards to YouTube afterwards, so you can catch them there. Right, I've got quite a good bit of going at the moment. I've got my cross, if you remember. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. It's probably going to be something I do afterwards. But let's get some of the foil size on here. That will be cool. So what I've got is a bit of the IOD crackle stamp, and I cut it up so that I've got a smaller bit that's just more manageable for me. I don't need the huge square, so just shoving some of these things out of the way. Okay, so I've got a product called Foil Size. There are lots of different brands. I think Polyvine do it. This is Artist Enhancements, but they all do the same thing. It's extremely sticky. It just looks like a white milky substance. And then I have got just a tray. Move this closer so you can see. And I'm just going to pour a little bit out. That's probably more than enough. Okay. Managed to. So what I'm going to do with a little brayer is roller like that. Let me clear up. And then with my crackle stamp, I'm going to just get little areas of it wet. Okay. Now this will obviously work on any stamp. So then, with the wet areas, I'm going to stamp and press down. Now, it's not actually going to show very much. It will only show sort of vague wet because it's clear. So that won't particularly show at the moment, but it will. The magic will happen. So I'm just going to stamp a bit more there, and then I'm going to load it up again. I'm going to stamp a bit at the bottom. Yeah, I'm going to do a bit here. This picture's all looking a bit dark, and I want to, it needs some white in it. It needs to lighten up, but that's okay. But this is going to make it all sparkly. So I can only really do one side at a time. It has to dry, this stuff. Okay. So just leave that for a second. Now these are the colours that I've got. So I have got peacock turquoisey one, which might actually look lovely. I've also got a blue. And I've also got a silver. What do we think? We start with the turquoise. I mean, I can do, I don't have to stick to one. So we could try a bit of everything. Contemplation, I like that. I shall do it. Right, I'm going to, you can just leave it to dry, but obviously we'll be sat chatting, looking at this, doing nothing. So I'm going to speed it up with the heater. It needs to be tacky before it will work. Let's try this turquoise. Yeah, it's a good name, Contemplation. Right, so what you do is face up, colour up, put it over the sticky area and use just the side of your finger. Now I'm not scraping it, I'm just applying a bit of pressure with the side of my nail. You could use a brush, you could use like a stipple brush. I find this just as... Oh, oh. I'll bring it up close, hopefully you can see that. That is so pretty. Right, I'm going to get this side. I will do some close-ups after, so that you really get to see the... This foil was from Artisan Enhancements, and you can look up your closest stockist on Facebook. It was about a pound a foot, I think. So it's not very expensive, and it does go a long way. You can feel if it hasn't gone on, if there's any areas you've missed, because it will still feel tacky. This area probably wasn't dry enough, it's not. There we are. It's taking a bit now. It's quite nice. It's quite noisy, but it's quite nice in its subtleness, to be honest. I don't know if I want a little bit more. No, I didn't sleep much. I am funny once I've got an idea in my head. And I came in here yesterday into my workroom, and I was gone for 3 hours, and I went back to hubby. He's like, God, what have you been doing? And I said, that's it. I've got all the ideas, all the things I wanted to try and have a go at. They're all out of my head now. I can sleep tonight. That's what I said. You never know how it's actually going to come out. You just don't. I just want it more sparkly, I think. It's just... I like my stained glass, but I need to get some white in it because it's just too dark at the moment. Right, let's just get those two areas dry before we can move on. Sorry. I've used this on furniture too, this stuff. This stuff works great, and I would recommend sealing it with a matte finish afterwards to protect it if you're doing it on furniture. I've done it on hardware. It works on the hardware really well. If you've got a rusty old bit of hardware and then you put a few flecks of silver or gold on it, brings it back to life, looks a bit more natural than painting it solid. More, and I could do a different colour, but I think this colour is working really well. There we go. Now I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a few more bits on this page, but I'm going to do the other page, finish the other page up separately, because I'm pretty sure you don't want to sit on for another hour. Oh, that's just so lovely. Right, now let's get my white. I just want to try and lighten up some of this window. Oh, it looks so nice. It looks so nice. Right, what are we going to do with this? It's all about the doodles. That's quite nice. She is pretty cool. I don't want to do much more with her, although I think I might use a bit of the Stabilo to just outline her and make her pop just a little bit. I'm going to just wet my finger. Now I've obviously got my necklace to go on that, and I'm just cutting. I believe this Tyvek is also from, you can get it from Envelopes. It's that, and you can do all sorts of, I imagine, lots of textured stuff with it. I was holding it out camera. Okay, there we go. Let's do it again here. Because you can't tear it. It does not tear. You can only cut it. Okay, let's just do one more because it only takes a couple of seconds. Let's get the pin in. Okay, right, let's make sure you can see here. So you just pull it's quite hot, pull the pin out, flatten down any bumpy areas, and then you can just slide it off your cocktail. So, and obviously it's got quite big holes, so it's easy to thread. I just love the texture actually. Now I've obviously chosen quite dull colours because they're going to be rosary beads, so I didn't want them to be. So I've got to chain those up, and I'll probably dull this down because it's a little bit sparkly. Oh yeah, look, Miss Paint-A-Lot's got an idea as well. So I think that's really cool. I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna thread these up. I have got some thread, and for those of you that just joined, this stained glass is literally made out of sweet wrappers. I sacrificed a lot to get this big. So this is my second page, and I'm going to work on that, and I've got a few things to do, but I wanted to just show you some of the process to get to this far. So I have taken some of the edge away, and I'm going to use it's quite coarse sandpaper to scuff up, pull back some of the original texture. Yeah, I like that much better. I'm just going to do the same with this. I've got tiny bits of the colour from that side has come off on this side, so I'm going to very gently, don't want to pull her face off. Okay. So I've got a black outline to do. I might even do a bit of gold foil size on this side. So let's find a stamp. So this is my foil size. It's been going a little while, so hopefully it will still be okay. It's been out a little while. It might just show off the yellow quite well in this particular image. So and I like the idea. A bit in her wings there. Okay. So now this time I'm going to use the gold paper. Even though this paper's been used, well used before, there's still plenty of use in it. Oh, wow. That is beautiful. You know what, makes me want to do gold around the frame, so I think I will. Why not? So let's get a brush, just dry that off. Here's my foil size. I'm just going to use my brush to brush around the edge, paint around the edge even, foil size. I'm going to do across the middle as well. that should do it. So now I just need to dry that off. Okay. Let's go back in that gold. See what we get. Got hot from the heat there. That's the beauty of this. If you miss any areas, you can just go back in. Don't necessarily need it to be completely evenly covered, just there. Really nice with the gold. Really like that, which then makes me think maybe I could do a bit of gold fostering as well. I have got a gold foster, so let's have a look. It hasn't even been opened, so this is a treat. See what we do. Let's get it started. Oh yes, we've got. So what I'm going to do is do some doodling with my gold Posca pen now. Shows up nicely. I like that. Just touching a few little areas there, but I really like that. You guys know how I like my dots. I would normally do this in the white, but actually it's really working for this picture in the gold. And the crackle is just divine. It doesn't need adding to at all. I really like that. Maybe just a hint of a point. Yeah. So that page is coming to its natural end. It's looking really pretty. Just some dots. And this page, again, scuffed it right back. And now I've just done the gold bit round the edge. I'm very tempted to do something similar here, but maybe with the turquoise. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Trial and error, guys. If you're not happy, it hasn't got the wow factor, don't stop. Push through the ugly phase. She will reveal herself. There. Okay, let's give that go. I'm back in with my turquoise. And sort of feel your way. Such a gorgeous colour. Look at that. That is the bling that we were needing. Now I've sanded off quite a bit of the crackle on this page, so I'm going to put a little bit more back in. So I need a little bit more foil size on my tray. That'll do nicely. Let's roll her up my stamp. My stamp is very sticky at this stage. If you do use this stuff, it is very, very sticky. Make sure you wash it up thoroughly afterwards. There. We had a good bit there. We had a good bit there. I want a bit here. And I'm going to get quite a bit more into her hair, I think. I just think it's the answer, the bling. Okay. Loving it. I think that is going to look fantastic. So let's get that dry. Okay. Isn't that just delicious? I love it. I love it. I love it. guys, now I feel like I had a cheat something because I held through the ugly stage. Oh. I don't even know which side I like best anymore because I love the turquoise. But it was the gold that made me decide what to do here. So I have to give thanks to the gold. She looks just beautiful in this blue crackly background. Just feeling for sticky patches that still need foil size. Still need the foil on, I mean. I think I'm about there. Oh, doesn't she look divine? Doesn't she look? Get some white. I want a little, try and highlight some of her. Because she's a little bit faded. That's okay. Oh. Guys, I'm a little bit in love this week. Some white. My white is dying. Maybe not. It's had a lot of work, this one. A lot of work. Really like it. So I've got that page, I've got that page, got all this. Oh, I haven't got a turquoise pen. I've got a gold, or I've got a silver. What do you think? Should I put a bit of gold in with it too, or should I put silver in? Tempted not to. So here's my beads, which I finished off just using the Distress Oxide on the top, so it's just given a little bit of a brown tinge to it, and I've gone around the edge with a black Posca. I've threaded up my Tyvek beads and just tied it at the top. I thought I'd probably glue it there and then fasten them to the edge, top corner there, so the beads could just hang however they want in the page. The alternatives to have them hung down, but then I think they might break, so I think I prefer it stuck in, but I need to make sure that the book will be able to close. Obviously it's not going to close. It's not going to close at all, is it? But it's not going to close if I do that either. That's not going to make it any easier. So maybe if I do it on the outside, that might be better. So if I glue it there, okay, let's go in. Now this is only PVA, so it might, in fact that's not even PVA, I'm putting gesso on it. I've lost the plot. I've lost the plot. I'm gluing with gesso. Good God, they're all white. The foil size, the gesso, the PVA. It's a good job I'm not drinking milk. Right. So I'll put a bit of extra on here for good measure. Dry see-through anyway. Let's stick her down. Might take a little while for that to dry. So now, does that mean do I just leave beads? No, I don't leave the beads here, so I don't like that. So I'm going to punch a hole here. Or here. Punch. Oh. Might need to give it a bit of time for this to glue down. I don't think my clips are big enough. I'll just tag the corner in there. Walkabout. There we go. So let's just put another one in there, just to tap the corner in. So you're going to need some weight to really glue it in. And I'm going to punch a hole there. So I have a little punch here. I don't want to ruin this other side, so I'm only just going to do one little hole. Like that. I'm going to thread one bit of the bead there, and one bit is so thin it's very, very visible, but it will hold it in place so they won't fall out. Isn't that cool? So they can go whichever way they want. I love it. So here is this week's, and there is some you can see through. It's a bit of a blast out with a hairdryer, it's got a bit dusty, but you can see through a bit with the light shining. And there's my gold page the other side, which is equally stunning. It's quite really pretty. Mostly with the help of the gorgeous crackle stamp and these gorgeous artisan foils, and a bit of imagination with some sweet wrappers. So I hope you enjoyed this lengthy process. It certainly has been, but we've come up with something pretty cool this week, I think. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, bye bye.